Water, with its gentle yet unparalleled strength, is a symbol of flexibility and maximum efficiency. Lao Tzu once described water as one of the best things. Nothing can compare to its ability to overcome all challenges. Many people's minds are often dominated by rigidity, by rigid thoughts and fixed ideas. But perhaps that is the lifeline amidst the big waves of life. The buoyancy of rules and consciousness helps us navigate through challenges with clarity and purpose in a chaotic world. The rigid mindset can lead to unintended consequences. When we impose fixed viewpoints on the world, we easily limit our understanding of everything around us. Sometimes we become confined by ideas of how things should or must unfold. However, in reality, the universe is constantly changing and more complex than we can grasp. That's why a more flexible approach, a more natural way of looking at life, can be the key to success. Let our ideas and thoughts flow with the currents of life, and let flexibility connect us with new and meaningful experiences. Just like the gentle and meandering streams, Lao Tzu's philosophy has celebrated flexibility in the Tao Te Ching, a timeless masterpiece. He boldly spoke out against rigid thinking that many pursued. He emphasized that, indeed, weakness or even yielding could become extraordinary strength. In Taoist philosophy, willingness to accept and adapt to change is not only a sign of wisdom but also a source of profound energy. It's a unique perspective we can learn from, with the expectation that it will open doors to new and deeper experiences in life. Lao Tzu depicted ultimate goodness as water, abundant and flexible. This video will explore the benefits of being a little more pliable and how we can learn from the nature of water. A prominent feature of Taoist philosophy is reverence for nature and its diversity. Everything in nature, including contrasts, plays a vital role. The harmony of opposites is a fundamental principle of the universe's operation, manifested through constant and unceasing change. When we observe nature deeply and apply a Taoist perspective, we'll notice two active forces: yin and yang, or feminine and masculine. Yang represents the positive aspects of existence, such as speed, dynamism, vitality, excitement, and outward direction. However, yang can also carry rigidity, dryness, and obstruction. In contrast, yin encompasses more passive elements, such as tranquility, receptivity, and the flexibility to not resist or react strongly. In our culture, we often honor the yang aspects of life. It's a world of growth, expansion, and success, where stability and the protection of unchanging views are deemed important. However, Taoist philosophy teaches us about the importance of adaptation over resistance and encourages flexibility and compassion over confrontation and conflict. On the contrary, yin aspects are often deemed insignificant. For instance, accepting dissenting opinions and being willing to change perspectives are often seen as weakness. Alexander Hamilton, a prominent American politician, once quoted, "If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything." This may be true, but if we don't maintain a certain level of flexibility, we'll never change our views on anything. If we're not willing to embrace and never ready to yield to life's challenges, we'll become as rigid as a dead branch. When we look at the essence of water, we discover the power of change. Water has the remarkable ability to adapt to any form. We can see water in a glass, transform into a part of the ocean, with tumultuous waves. Depending on the external temperature, water changes its behavior, from evaporating when heated, to becoming solid ice when frozen. This is evidence of nature's flexibility and diversity, and we can learn from this adaptability and transformation in life. Water exists in many different situations thanks to its adaptability. Its softness is a source of strength for living creatures, making them more pliable and flexible in the face of external challenges. As Lao Tzu stated, "Live softly, die rigid." Living beings testify to flexibility and softness, while death brings brittleness and hardness. Ending the quote. What is brittle and dry often breaks easily, symbolizing endings or decay. Similarly, rigid and harsh minds often struggle with change, as they prefer stability over the uncertainty of change. Unfortunately for these individuals, change is an inevitable part of life. Life is impermanent, and if it were not so, it would lose its vitality and dynamism. When we cannot accept the reality of instability, we risk losing a lot of energy and struggling with the inevitable. Change exists in many different forms in life, and sometimes we can experience minor changes every day. For example, a new colleague could bring about changes in our daily lives. Or we may have to face major changes such as moving to a new country, divorce, or even losing a loved one. If we compare life to a river, the small streams, the little twists and turns in the brook, are just minor changes. But a major change in the flow could signify significant events in our lives. And when the water flows into the ocean, it could also symbolize endings or major changes that we have to confront. We see that the river always continues to flow, adapting to every eventuality, and finding its way past obstacles naturally, without effort. Even when faced with destruction, the river continues its journey unhindered, without resistance, simply merging into the surrounding environment. And so, we move forward in life like elements in an endless flow, overcoming every obstacle without resistance, even when faced with the most powerful upheavals, even death. However, when we are confined, like water held in a vessel, we simply exist in quiet solitude until our circumstances change. Lao Tzu, in the Tao Te Ching, argues that the flexible will triumph over the rigid. He indeed used water as a symbol for this assertion. Water is soft and pliable yet also capable of eroding hard materials like stone and metal. I quote, "Everyone knows that soft and yielding will overcome hard and rigid, but few can apply this knowledge to practice. Therefore, to become like water, we need to learn how to overcome rigidity with softness." First and foremost, Taoism is a philosophy of non-imposition of anything. In fact, we find that the use of violence not only exhausts us but often doesn't yield the results we desire. This doesn't mean we should never use violence in certain circumstances. However, in many cases, a gentle approach often yields better results than using violence, not only in terms of long-term outcomes but also in terms of conserving energy and maintaining peace of mind. This mechanism is best understood through specific examples. An excellent example of the power of gentleness can be seen in the movie, The Shawshank Redemption, where the main character Andy Dufresne is sentenced to life imprisonment at Shawshank State Penitentiary for the alleged murder of his wife and her lover, although he consistently maintains his innocence. After 19 years in prison, Andy successfully escapes and flees to Mexico. He employs gentle and clever methods to achieve his goal. Perhaps due to his background in banking, Andy has the ability to think long-term and understand that small actions in the present will lead to significant changes in the future. He is also passionate about geology, as the movie mentions, studying pressure and time. With his friendliness, usefulness, and intelligence, Andy becomes a trusted confidant of the corrupt and brutal prison warden, Samuel Norton, and is granted several privileges. By writing letters to the state senate weekly for 6 years, he achieves funding for a library in the prison. Ultimately, Andy escapes through a tunnel he dug with a small hammer hidden inside a Bible. It took Andy 19 years to dig that tunnel, a project he concealed behind a poster with the image of a beautiful woman. With his gentle and patient approach, he not only overcame the thick concrete wall but also gained the trust of the prison management. However, his escape was very risky. He dived into the tunnel, emerged on the other side, broke a sewage pipe, crawled through 500 yards of foulness, retrieved money, and exposed the corrupt prison warden to the media's attention before fleeing to Mexico. Andy doesn't entirely eschew the use of force. He only employs it when the opportunity arises, something he spent 19 years patiently softening up to accomplish. Similar to water's ability to adapt to any situation, every situation carries a positive aspect. In calm water, sediment can settle, creating a transparent space. In the flow of life, water flows through different lands, nurturing and propelling everything it encounters. In the modern society we live in, we often only value a small part of human existence, the positive part revolving around success, competition, and achievement. We are taught that to meet societal expectations, we must take on many responsibilities at work and in the family, strive to accumulate wealth, and do so as quickly as possible. Sometimes we evaluate each other based solely on success and accomplishments, rather than acknowledging the essence of humanity. Becoming useless, foolish, ugly, or poor is often seen as undesirable. However, when we apply flexibility in finding the positive aspects in negative situations, we will realize that these traits actually have positive aspects. The important thing is how we perceive and evaluate them. For example, Poverty may bring less money and material wealth to worry about, but it can also bring simplicity and deeper life experiences. Ugliness may lead to fewer opportunities to attract external relationships, but it affirms relationships based on our true character rather than appearance. In the Taoist work, Zhuangzi, there's a story about a crooked tree, not straight like the others. The woodcutters deemed this tree useless because it couldn't be fashioned into useful boards. However, when Zhuangzi came along, he realized that this tree was actually perfect for making a leisure spot, where people could enjoy its resilience and flexibility, showcasing diversity and novelty. Because the woodcutters deemed the tree worthless, it was left untouched and grew strong, becoming a precious symbol. Its perceived worthlessness eventually became the source of its durability and permanence. This shows us that sometimes being considered unnecessary or useless can bring greater value than we think, and it also marks an important message about diversity and the trade-off between reputation and true value. While it may lead to fewer burdens and lighter pressures, it also brings much more comfortable and freer life. Every cloud has a shiny surface layer. Water always seeks lower places, taking advantage of unwanted circumstances. Flexibility is a core feature of life, and from it, it gains strength. Soft things are not easily broken because they have the ability to bend, unlike brittle and hard ones. Even the hardest rock can be overcome by the gentleness of water, and even by the gentle strength of the wind. Therefore, a famous person once said, "Never mold yourself to a fixed form. Adjust and develop your own form, like the changes of water."
Thanks for watching.